Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the Triple Threat Podcast. I'm a little sick today. I think Miggy's getting a little sick there as well.
Nah, my throat's pretty rough.
So if we squeak a little bit, do forgive us.
I do not apologize.
Yeah, well, you know what, Jay? Screw you. So I'm going to start our analytical section with some scores. And NBA was really busy this week. NHL was equally as busy,
Yeah.
I think.
We finally got some X's on the last week.
All right, so NBA scores for this past week, this past Tuesday. There are a lot of games, so I'm going to try to not spend too much time on each game because I have a lot here because they were all important. So Toronto versus Miami. Toronto wins 121-95. Scotty Barnes with 25 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Brandon Ingram, 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals. For Miami, Andrew Wiggins had 24 points, 5 rebounds. And the disappointing part of this game, Bam Adebayo, the guy who scored 83 points earlier this year, went for 7 points and 9 rebounds.
So what? Okay.
He goes from 83 points to 7. I don't understand.
He wanted a
it.
perfect 90, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. But Toronto needed this win because the middle of that East at the start of this week was all up in the air. Another game from this past Tuesday, Charlotte versus Boston. Another Eastern Conference tilt. Charlotte needed wins for, to avoid the play-in, seeding and play-in, all that crap. Boston wins 113-102. So Charlotte didn't get the win. Jaylen Brown had 35 points and 9 rebounds. Jason Tatum had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So two-headed dragon for Boston in peak form. LaMelo Ball for Charlotte had 36 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, while Miles Bridges, who was their second highest scorer, I think, had 13 points and 12 rebounds.
Solid.
So a bit of a drop-off, although Knipple might have had 20 in that game. I do not quite remember. LaMelo Ball also had 6 3-pointers in that game, which is important since LaMelo and Knipple have been fighting for that 3-point leader for the end of this year. So on the same team, funny enough. Houston versus Phoenix. Houston wins 119-105. With this win, Houston at the time went on a 7-game win streak. Kevin Durant had 24 points. Alperen Sengun had 12 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. Men Thompson, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals. Very good games from the top of Houston's lineup. For Phoenix, only notable performer was Devin Booker. He had 31 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. Phoenix only air quotes, only lost by 14, and only having one high performer. You almost take it as a good loss, although Phoenix really did want this win. OKC versus the Lakers. On paper, this was supposed to be a top of the West fight. First in the West versus a team fighting for third in the West. Final score 123-87 for the Thunder. This was not close. With this win, OKC was on a 6-game win streak at the time. OKC led by as many as 41 points, and they never trailed. OKC led this the whole way through.
That's a pretty dominant show.
Mind you, the Lakers were missing Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James. The Lakers were undermanned. They were never going to win this. OKC had all of their guys. SGA, 25 points, 8 assists, 2 steals. Chet Holmgren, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Isaiah Joe had 18 points for them. He shot 6 of 9. All 9 of his shots were from 3. He went 6 of 9 from 3-point territory. All 18 of his points from back there. So this was supposed to be a decent game, but LA was playing very shorthanded. Outside of those games from Tuesday, a top performer, Jeremiah Fears for New Orleans, had 40 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in a 156-137 win over Utah. With a score like that, usually I'd want to talk more about it, but New Orleans and Utah have been long since eliminated from playoff contention, so not going to focus too much on that. This past Wednesday, Atlanta versus Cleveland. Again, another Eastern Conference bout from 2 teams fighting for positioning in their own parts of the Eastern Conference standings. Cleveland wins 122 to 116, so close game. Donovan Mitchell, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Evan Mobley, 22 points, 19 rebounds, nearly a 20-20 for him, and 3 blocks. Nikhil Alexander-Walker for Atlanta had 25 points. Jonathan Kuminga has been a great trade line acquisition for the Atlanta Hawks. He's really come out of his shell since leaving Golden State. He had 24 points and 6 rebounds. Jalen Johnson, Atlanta's future, had 12 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. So solid performances. Cleveland ekes out the 6-point win. Minnesota versus Orlando. Cross-conference competition here. Minnesota, I think at the time, was already guaranteed either 5th or 6th in the West, so they were just fighting for potentially more home field advantage later on in the playoffs. Orlando fighting to try to avoid the play-in. Orlando wins 132 to 120. Paulo Banchero had 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Goga Bitadze had 14 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists. For Minnesota, Terrence Shannon Jr., not a name I've seen before, had 33 points in this game. Mind you, Minnesota was missing Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert.
Was they really missing or resting?
I mean, if Minnesota figured that 6 was good enough and they weren't going to get any more, then resting is probably what you could call it. Portland versus San Antonio. San Antonio wins this 112 to 101. De'Aaron Fox with 27 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals. Big game from him. And Keldon Johnson, 20 points and 8 rebounds. For Portland, Denny Avdia had 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and Donovan Clingan had 11 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks to go along with that stat line. OKC versus the Clippers. OKC clinches the West first seed with this win. They won 128 to 110. Clippers were still fighting here because Clippers were guaranteed a play-in spot at this point. They were just fighting to see if they could get into that 7-8 side instead of having to fight their way up. Regardless, OKC wins this, clinches the first seed. OKC also led this game the whole way through. It was only an 18-point game, but they led the whole game. Chet Holmgren with 30 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks. SGA, 20 points, 11 assists. The only standout for the Clippers in this game was Kawhi Leonard. He had 20 points, 8 rebounds. Top performers outside of these games from this past Wednesday, Devin Booker had 37 points and 9 assists in a 112 to 107 win over Dallas. Nikola Jokic had a triple-double, 14 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists, along with 2 steals in a 136 to 119 win over Memphis. Past Thursday, another Toronto-Miami game. These were important for Toronto this last week to avoid the play-in. Toronto wins again, 128 to 114. Toronto sweeps the season series with Miami, going 4-0.
That's always good.
Toronto led this game the whole way through. Brandon Ingram, a season-high 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. RJ Barrett, 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals. Bam Adebayo, much better game than the last time they played Toronto. 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. Nearly posted a triple-double. And Davion Mitchell, not to be confused with the Cleveland Cavaliers' Donovan Mitchell. Davion Mitchell had 15 points and 11 assists. Fun fact, he actually used to play for the Raptors, and it was last year, so it's nice to see him doing well. Boston versus New York. These two teams are fighting for the 2nd seed in the East at the time of that game. New York won 112 to 106. This game was tight. There were 16 lead changes and 13 ties over the course of this game. So very back and forth. Josh Hart for New York had 26 points. Jalen Brunson had 25 points and 10 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 steals. For Boston, Jason Tatum had 24 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. Peyton Pritchard, who was, I think, last year's 6th man of the year, had 23 points and 6 assists. Boston was missing Jaylen Brown. So, another game this past Thursday, Philadelphia versus Houston. Houston was just fighting for that top 3 spot in the West. Philadelphia at this time was still fighting to try and avoid the play-ins. Houston wins this 113 to 102. With that win, Houston was, at the time, on an 8-game winning streak. So they picked it up to sort of end the year here. Kevin Durant, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Amen Thompson, 19 points and 3 steals. For Philadelphia, Tyrese Maxey had 24 points, 5 assists. VJ Edgecombe had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. I do believe Philadelphia was missing Joel Embiid again for this game. So they are still playing injured. That's all for like the big games from this past Thursday in terms of top performers. LeBron James had 26 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and a 119-103 win over Golden State. Now we get into the chaos that was the last 3 days of the NBA season. So as I said last week, for the NBA, there were 15 games this past Friday, 0 games on Saturday, and 15 games on Sunday.
You want to know something funny?
Yeah, hit me with it.
There was 15 games on Thursday, 0 on Friday, 15 on Saturday, and 6 on Sunday for the NHL.
I don't know what happened with the scheduling, but apparently the NHL and NBA both just decided, yeah, so we're just going to have half our leagues, or no, our full leagues essentially, play, not play, and then play again.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know. Past Friday, Detroit versus Charlotte. Detroit had clinched the first seed in the East. Charlotte was just fighting, trying to get out of the play-ins. Detroit wins 118-100. Little fun stat for this game: 11 lead changes, 11 ties. So this game was close until Detroit won the fourth quarter, 25-10. This game was fun for 3 quarters, and then Detroit just said, we're the number 1 team in the East. We can't lose here. Jalen Duren had 20 points, 9 rebounds. Asar Thompson, the other Thompson twin, had 12 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. Charlotte did not go down without a fight, though. LaMelo Ball had 27 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. Brandon Miller had 22 points and 4 steals. Cleveland versus Atlanta. Again, I think I mentioned that they played each other earlier in the week. Atlanta wins this one 124-102. With this win, Atlanta clinched a playoff berth, meaning with this win, they avoid the play-ins. They couldn't drop below 6th. CJ McCollum had 29 points and 2 assists for Atlanta. Dyson Daniels had 13 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals. So a nice, quiet triple-double from him. James Harden for Cleveland had 20 points and 5 assists. Cleveland was playing without Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, most likely resting. Toronto versus New York. This was a game I was really hoping Toronto would win, but Toronto continues to struggle against the top teams, especially in the Eastern Conference. New York wins 112-95. The key difference maker in this game was the second quarter where New York won 29-15. The other 3 quarters, very close. I think within 2 points each quarter between the teams. But that second quarter, New York just blew the game open. Jalen Brunson had 29 points and 2 steals. Karl Towns, 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. The only kind of bright spot in terms of individual performance for Toronto in this game was Sandro Mamukelashvili, who had 17 points and 8 rebounds. I think that was their highest score that game. Toronto did not have a good game, especially from their top guys. OKC versus Denver. Normally, this would be a very fun game to watch. The end of season, both teams had already clinched. OKC had clinched the first seed. OKC was sitting a lot of guys. Denver sat their entire starting lineup. This was the battle of the reserves.
So basically, just the bench and the room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Denver wins this 127-107. This win put Denver on an 11-game winning streak at the time. Jonas Valanciunas, a guy that Raptors fans should know. One of my sort of like favorite players, not because he was great or anything, but just because it was fun to watch. He had 23 points and 17 rebounds. And Julian Strawther had 27 points and 2 steals for Denver. For OKC, Brandon Carlson had 23 points and 12 rebounds. And Nikola Topic had 14 points and 11 rebounds. I will remind everyone listening again, Denver sat their whole starting lineup. So no Jokic, no Murray, no Gordon, no Christian Brown. All resting. And OKC sat Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams. This was a break. This is a game that probably didn't even need to be played. Minnesota versus Houston. Now, the other end of the spectrum, this game lived up to what it was supposed to be. Minnesota wins 136 to 132. There were 22 lead changes and 19 ties. In this game, Terrence Shannon Jr. for Minnesota had 25 points. Anthony Edwards had 22 points. And Kyle Anderson had 17 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals. Minnesota had 7 players with at least 14 points this game.
7?
Had 7 players with at least 14 points. If that isn't a team effort, I don't know what is. For Houston, Ben Thompson had 41 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. And Kevin Durant had 33 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 blocks. A tale of 2 stories. Team effort? Individual effort. Minnesota comes out with a 4-point victory. Take that information as you will. Clippers versus the Portland Trail Blazers. Blazers win 116 to 97. Danny Avdia had 35 points and 5 assists. Donovan Clingan had 18 points and 13 rebounds. On LA's side, Kawhi Leonard had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Brook Lopez had 21 points and 6 rebounds. And the final game I want to mention from Friday was Phoenix, the Suns, versus the LA Lakers. The Lakers win 101 to 73. And no, I did not misspeak. Phoenix only scored 73 points. LeBron James had 28 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals. Luke Kennard had 19 points. Keep that in mind. 19 points was LA's second highest points.
It's per player. 3 points a quarter.
Yeah.
Not even.
Devin Booker was Phoenix's highest scorer with 12 points. Phoenix shot, and listen carefully, Phoenix shot 34% from the field, 17% from 3, and 67% from the 3-throw line. And sorry, that was not Devin Booker who scored 12 points. That was Dillon Brooks. So the Suns were playing without Devin Booker. So I will give that to them. They were playing without their star player. 73 points in a 48-minute NBA game.
18.25 points in it.
Is not a good showing, especially at the end of the year. Top performers outside of those games on Friday: Victor Wembanyama, 40 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in a 139 to 120 win over Dallas. Again, no game Saturday. And the final day of regular season games in the NBA was this past Sunday. Orlando versus Boston. This game was important because for the Raptors, if Orlando lost, it made getting the Raptors into either the 5th or 6th seed a lot easier. Orlando's one of the teams that was looking to jump ahead of the Raptors in terms of the play-ins. Boston wins this 113 to 108. Get this. Boston played 8 total players, all reserves. Boston didn't play any of their starters, none of their main bench guys even. These are your end of bench guys for the Boston Celtics. And they went out and beat Orlando's full-strength team by 5 points.
Well, that's embarrassing.
If that isn't humiliating, I don't know what is. Boston's top scorer, Baylor Shearman, 30 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. I've never heard of this guy. But apparently, he's sitting on the end of Boston's bench, but could be a starter for some other teams. Another player for Boston on this night, Luka Garza, who I've heard like twice before, had 27 points and 12 rebounds. Ron Harper Jr. had 27 points and 7 rebounds. These are guys that you don't see on the box scores at all. And Boston just went, hey, we're already clinched. It's the last game of the regular season. You guys want some run? They went, yeah.
Have at it, boys.
Have at it. And they went out and beat a team that had something to play for. Paulo Banchero for Orlando, he performed all right. He went for 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists. He had a triple-double. Jalen Suggs, 23 points and 6 rebounds. So, I don't know what happened, but apparently Boston just has 2 teams worth of top-of-the-league play. I don't know. This Boston team, I'm going to talk a bit more about their crazy impressive season later, but Denver versus San Antonio. Denver wins 128 to 118. With this win, Denver clinched the 3rd seed in the West. Strother had 25 points and 6 rebounds. Jokic had 23 points and 8 rebounds. For San Antonio, De'Aaron Fox had 24 points. Stefan Castle had 10 points and 11 rebounds. Victor Wembanyama was not playing this game. And the final game I wanted to go over, and this is mostly just because I'm a big Toronto fan. Toronto beats the Brooklyn Nets 136 to 101, as they should. With this win, Toronto clinched the 5th seed in the East. RJ Barrett had 26 points. Brandon Ingram had 25 points, 9 rebounds. Scotty Barnes goes off for 18 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, and 3 blocks. Solid triple-double to end the regular season. Tyson Etienne had 20 points for Brooklyn, and Chene Johnson had 16 points and 13 rebounds. Outside of these 3 games for this past Sunday, some top performers. Jeremiah Fears, I've mentioned him again. I'm mentioning him for the 2nd time now for New Orleans. He had 36 points and 10 rebounds in a 126 to 132 loss to Minnesota. So New Orleans had a bad year, but maybe they've got some promising players. Juan Behringer had 24 points and 13 rebounds, along with 7 blocks in the same game, except Juan Behringer plays for Minnesota. So he put up those numbers in the 132 to 126 win over New Orleans. And the last top performer is a guy who I recognize the last name, but it's not the first name I would expect. Ryan Nembhard, who I'm guessing he has a brother, or he is the brother of the Nembhard that plays for the Indiana Pacers. Ryan Nembhard goes off with 15 points, 23 assists, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals in a 149 to 128 win over Chicago.
Correct me if I heard that. 23 assists?
23 assists. If my basketball knowledge is up to date enough, I'm pretty sure that the most assists in a game is something like 25. I would have to double check. It's funny that we're not on video yet because I haven't seen 3 of us go to try and find a piece of information or stats quite this quickly. 29. Okay, so bit off. But regardless, 23 assists and nearly pulls a triple-double out of his hat, too.
Actually, 29 was the one set on December 30th. It got broken in 1990 by Scott Skills
Oh, yes, Scott Scott. Is it 31?
with 30 for the
30.
Orlando Magic against the Denver Nuggets.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my historical stats are just not up to date. Regardless, 23 points from Ryan Nembhard. That does it for the scores of the 2025-2026 NBA regular season.
Guess I've taken over then.
Yeah, the NHL is just about wrapping up too, so might as well.
The NHL still got a couple of games left. We don't have the play-ins, but everything is pretty much set. Some teams are fighting for positioning, but other than that, it's really not a surprise to who's in and who's out right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's clinched. We have all 16 teams. Now we're just waiting for positioning and face-offs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of games that I want to talk about. So Tampa Bay versus Ottawa. Last Tuesday, Ottawa wins 6-2 with a 5-goal third period.
Okay.
Key notes on this is Tim Stützle with 1 goal and 2 assists. So a 3-point night. And if you think that was impressive, as much as I hate the guy, Brady Tkachuk with a 4-assist night.
Huh. So the illiterate knows how to pass.
Hey, this was important because Ottawa was in the deeps a couple weeks ago. Me and you were kind of laughing that Ottawa even had a chance, and now they're clinched. So it was an interesting 5-goal period. But
I will always take more Canadian teams in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, for sure. We only have 3. Oilers versus Utah. A absolute steal, if you ask me, of a point. Utah ties it up with about 7 minutes left in the game to bring it into OT. Now, mind you, this is the first year that Utah has its name. It's not just the Utah. So to clinch your first year is pretty impressive. Key stars to the game, Nick Schultz with 2 goals. Their captain, Clayton Keller, with a goal and an assist. And then Kerfoot as well with a goal and assist. So a couple of guys with 2 points. Paterka scored. So altogether, the funny thing is that Oilers scored 3 in the first and 1 in the second. And then Mammoth scored 1 in the first and 3 in the second.
Just literally like flip the script.
Yep. So that was another tightly contested game, again, for positioning because those teams has been clinched. On Wednesday, the Capitals won 4-0 against Maple Leafs. So that made my heart warm. Now, let's talk about this Oilers and Sharks game. Sharks won 5-2. McDavid, man. This game, he had 3 goals and 2 assists for a combined of 5 points, which is even for McDavid, that is a monster game.
I mean, that's massive.
Like, he averages out 2 to 3 points a game. A 5-point game is insane.
I mean, how many times have you and I gone on rants about, oh, this guy's point per game, that's so high value, and you've got a guy, and you look at McDavid, and we expect 2 to 3.
Yeah.
And then he puts up 5.
Yeah. Now, on Thursday, big implications with the Montreal and Lightning game to kind of help with the seeding. Montreal scored a little early-ish in the second period and kept that lead till 1 minute and 51 seconds left in the third. Now, I was sad because I was like, man, I don't want to go at overtime. 50 seconds later, Slavkovsky scores, and they win 2-1. So, Caulfield got his 50th. Slavkovsky got his 30th, which he's the last Slovakian to do that since Hossa. So that was pretty big nights, and it brought Suzuki closer to his 100-point campaign.
Didn't he get 100 points?
He got 100 points later on in that game.
Oh, okay.
And on that game in the week.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Senators again won against the Panthers. They were really pushing that end of year. Zibyan Zutterlin scored 2 goals to help the team. And again, a late push in the third. They did score 2 in the first, but they scored 3 in the third. So Ottawa seems to be a third period team, which in the playoffs might make the difference. But that also means that they need to score at least a goal or two in the first and second, to at least have a little cushion in case it doesn't work.
Well, yeah. I mean, the implications of that are pretty simple. If they can stay close through the first two periods, then they're comfortable.
Yep.
If they get behind, then they have a technical safety net. But you're right. You can't rely on just end game antics.
Now, a game that we're going to see at least 4 times in the playoffs. Dallas and Minnesota played against each other. 5-4, tightly contested, and that is what I am expecting from this series. Colin Blackwell from the Stars, he 1 goal, 1 assist, so 2 points. Kirill Kaprizov, 2 goals in the game. When you scored, so that was good for him. He also had an assist. The shot differential was slightly shocking. Minnesota had 31, Dallas had 20.
That's a bit of a gap. But...
Yeah. But this is going to be an interesting series. Due to the fact that they're both physical, they've seen each other a lot. They know what they bring to the table. Friday, no games. It was
break
boring.
day.
It was boring. Saturday, we had a couple of really important ones. So again, Senators win against Islanders. Lightning win against Boston, and Montreal lost against Columbus, so we went back to being tied.
Mm-hmm.
Capitals won against Pittsburgh. That was an interesting one because that was when Capitals weren't eliminated. Elia Protas had a game, 1 goal, 2 assists. But yeah, they're playing a team that's already in the playoffs. They were looking for positioning, and now you show up with a 6-3. Ovi did score an empty netter, though, so goal's a goal.
Goal's a goal.
For the greatest goal scorer of all time. On Sunday, Canadians beat Islanders, so another rematch of the rookies. It was always fun to see, but Nick Suzuki did get his 100 points, and Hudson came out with 2 points. So another good game.
And the Islanders really just
You want to talk
fell
about
off.
Detroit?
Fell off at the end of the
Detroit.
year. Yeah.
Top 3 all year, and now they're
Out.
basically. Canucks managed to beat the Ducks.
I guess the Canucks got to play a bit of spoiler here at the end of the year. It was really fun.
So Marco Rossi with 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. He's starting to fit really well with Canucks. I'm expecting a big breakout year next year. Sorry. Connor Gauthier with 2 goals. And the overtime, 10 seconds left, and Rossi slapped it in.
10 seconds left. Power play was with 5 seconds left.
Oh, yeah, it was down to the wire, but...
Primed to go to shootouts, and you got there.
Another game on Monday was the 6-5 wins from Dallas against Toronto. Mark Bourque got 3 goals, 1 assist. Matt Duchene, 3 assists. William Nylander, even though his team has been eliminated for weeks, is still putting up numbers. 1 goal, 2 assists, so 3 points.
I can respect a guy who continues to fight.
Yep.
Honestly.
Maple Leafs did have the lead, though, after the first 3-0. And then Stars scored 3 in the second, and then score was close in the third with 3-2. Now, last game I do want to talk about was the Sharks and Predators, because that sort of sealed the West. With the Sharks winning against the Predators, it helped LA clinch. And it helped also the Ducks clinch, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that was a tight game. Celebrini with 2 goals. Kid's just
the kid's special,
yeah.
and he's gonna continue. He's gonna get better. Is the scary thing.
Oh, it's insane. So those were the main games that needed to get talked about and high performing, all that kind of pizzazz. Now,
NFL is still in the offseason. CFL starts soon, but they're playing very soon. We'll get into a bit more later. Toronto Blue Jays in the MLB, however, are not. Their record does not look how we were hoping it to be. That's for sure. And they had another rough week.
at least we got some wins.
That's true.
We lost against the Dodgers 4-1. Freeland went 4 for 4, 2 runs and 1 RBI. He plays with the Dodgers. He's their number 9 hitters. And then we managed to win the next day 4-3 against the Dodgers, coming back from 3-1. I was shocked. And then again, we went down 4-0 against the Twins and came back to win 10-4 with Guerrero going 3 for 5, going to the plate twice and bringing in a batter, and Schneider going 2 for 3, running in twice, bringing 2 batters in, and going on base on balls. And then we go to lose to the Twins the next day, 4-7. Varshall did get a homer. He is starting to heat up, and Guerrero just keeps the hot start. He is.
He's there. He's where he needs to be.
And then the Twins again beats us 8-2. These are not like small losses. They are like 3+ runs. Gray, which is with the Twins, a 3-run homer. It was just a bad outing for the Blue Jays bullpen.
Mm-hmm. These are sizable losses that I really hope not to see going forward.
Yeah. So it's intense. It's the beginning of the year for them. I've been in the end of year mode for the hockey and NBA this whole time. So now getting into a beginning of the year is interesting. Hometown?
No, PWHL first, bud.
PWHL is heating up. There's not much for scores. There was a couple of big games, but Charge lost them both.
Eesh.
And they are fighting for that number 1 spot with Toronto and New York. As of this moment, it is up for grabs. The top 3 of those spots, not so much. Montreal's number 1, Boston's number 2, Minnesota's number 3.
All right. Well, that about does it, except for the hometown teams. You're right. The Rush played Colorado this past Saturday, so just a couple days ago, and
lost 13-11.
13-11. So it was close.
But
it's close.
There's
a bright spot.
Bright spot. We scored 4 in an apparent 33 seconds.
Now, the per game average on that would be really fun to calculate. It's really high. Fortunately, can't quite keep that up. But it's a good sign, though.
Yes.
It means that the Rush have been struggling these last few weeks.
I think they just put all their effort at the beginning of the season, and now they're wearing down at the end of the season.
They've been in a slump. So they lose 13-11 to Colorado.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a must-win, but at the time of the game,
it would have been a fun.
It would have been nice to win because at the time of that game, Colorado, Saskatchewan, and Vancouver were all tied for first.
Yeah, and now I think Rush is now 3rd.
Yes, I think Rush is 3rd now. The Rush do play the Toronto Rock this week. It'll be their final game of the regular season before going into playoffs. That game is this coming Saturday.
Now, talking about losing.
Oh, this one hurts every time I think about it.
After that big overtime win.
After the Blades beat the Oil Kings.
Blades all riled up, go to face top top team Raiders. We lose 6-1 in the first game, and then proceed to lose 3-0 in the second game. In my personal opinion, and I'm just gonna shoot this real quick, they gotta stop relying on the dump and chase. They need better second periods. Their power play and their penalty kill both have to improve, as well as they need to give their goalie help.
Well, I mean, we watched that first, or rather, we watched the first 2 periods of that first game. They had 8 shots on net going into that
the
third
Raiders
period.
like 40.
Yeah, 40. M. Gardner has not been getting any help. And you're right, the dump and chase strategy isn't working because they've been relying on dumping it without even having momentum.
Yeah.
Irregardless.
So their next games at home is the 14th and the 15th. And then if we don't get swept, we go back to PA on the 17th, back home on the 19th, and then back to PA on the 21st.
Fingers crossed that the Blades win both here at home.
How about this? I feel Blades are going to do the reverse sweep right here and now. We're going to win the next 4, and with that, let's go to break.
The NBA was founded, or rather formed, in 1949 when the Basketball Association of America, the BAA, and the National Basketball League, NBL, merged to form what we now know today as the NBA. And welcome back. So, with the end of the regular season, always comes discussion, opinions, and arguments, especially. So, a few more numbers for you guys here at the end of the NBA season. Our top points per game scorer was Luka Doncic, 33.5 points per game. Top assists per game, Nikola Jokic with 10.7. Rebounds, also Nikola Jokic, 12.9 rebounds a game. For steals, we had a tie between Asar Thompson and Dyson Daniels. They each averaged 2 steals a game. And for blocks, it was Victor Wembanyama with 3.1 blocks per game.
He was blocking everything.
He really, really was. I want to talk about the teams for the NBA here at the end of the year. Some surprise teams. So, on the good, on the up, Detroit Pistons. They are a very young team. If I had to compare them to another team, I'd honestly kind of compare them to the Montreal Canadiens, where they are young, they're good, and they're developing still. So the fact that they're at the top of the East and have had such a good year, even while Cade Cunningham was out, was very
Especially
impressive.
with Kate Cunningham out, that they continue.
That's the thing, though, right? Like, they have a team. Because for the first 60 games of the year, or whatever it was before he got injured, he was the show of that team. He ran that team. Everything was through him. Kind of like how last year for the Indiana Pacers, everything went through Halliburton. Now, different story with the Pacers, though. Without Halliburton, that team is just about nothing. They ended bottom 2 in the Eastern Conference, bottom 3 in the league.
There's only so much, though, that Siakam can do. Like, if all you have is 2 star players compared to the Celtics, where, like, they have, like, still, like, 2 to 3 stars or
very good role players,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I feel bad for Siakam, especially since, he's used to play for the Raptors and whatnot, but that's why it's even more impressive with Detroit. Speaking of Boston, they were without Tatum for 80% of the year, and they're the 2 seed in the East. They've clinched that. They were 2 through 4 in the East for the entire year without Tatum. So the fact that Jaylen Brown and the rest of that Boston squad kept that team not just afloat, but thriving is horrifying for the playoff indications. And going back to that Boston-Orlando game, where they just played their reserves and they still won.
Yeah, they should have lost that game
They
to a fully healthy Orlando.
absolutely, they should have lost that.
Like, that's
So-
insane.
So their reserves are good enough to be their own team, essentially. Jaylen Brown is in the MVP picture. And Jason Tatum just continues to recover and get back towards that 100% health. I mean, he's been putting up great numbers in this last week. Another surprise, my Toronto Raptors. Last year, they ended with a record of 30-52, which put them at 11th in the Eastern Conference. They finish this year at 5th. It's Ingram's first full year with the Raptors. They traded for him near the end of the year last year. So the end of the Raptors season last year was kind of just a wash because they traded a bunch of assets for a player who didn't immediately play for them, and a lot of people doubted them. A lot of people were kind of, RJ Barrett's not that guy. Manuel Quickley is inconsistent. Scotty Barnes can't carry this, and you don't know what Ingram's going to bring you. The Raptors have silenced those doubters, at least in terms of the regular season.
Yeah. Now it's just got to show if they can do it in the postseason.
I am scared for them because while, yes, you're not supposed to beat the teams that are ahead of you, you're also still supposed to be able to put up a fight against them if you're trying to compete with them.
Yeah.
And the Raptors just haven't shown that this year. So that'll be interesting to follow. Charlotte Hornets were an awful team last year. But they have found something in their young core. LaMelo Ball
they
and
found
Conn
3-pointers.
Yeah, they found the second coming, if you want to, of the original Splash Brothers, in a sense.
Yeah.
This year, both LaMelo Ball and Knippel, I think they went for 273 3-pointers and 272 3-pointers. 73 for Knippel and 72 for Ball. This is the first time since Curry and Klay Thompson did it back in, I think, the 2016-2017 season, where two teammates both had 273s in a year. The Charlotte Hornets are in the play-ins. They didn't even make the play-ins last year, and they're a fun young team to watch who are getting really comfy in their system. The San Antonio Spurs are also, I wouldn't say surprised, but they improved greatly from last year.
Yeah.
They went 34-48 last year, which put them 13th in the West.
And now they're second.
Now they are second in the West. Wembanyama got played, a full season this year. They had guys like Stephen Castle really pick up the pace. They have some bench guys. I think Keldon Johnson, who was in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. De'Aaron Fox has been playing great as a veteran. They're scary. The Houston Rockets were not supposed to be good this year. Yes, they have Kevin Durant. Yes, they have Alperen Sengun. But Fred VanVleet has missed the whole year for injury. He was supposed to be sort of their motor.
Yeah.
And they've just been missing that. So the fact that Houston is, I think it's fourth. No, they're fifth. It's the Lakers that are in fourth. The fact that they're fifth is honestly props to that. And the last, really surprise team is Phoenix. Phoenix fought for the 7th seed in the West on the backs of Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks.
Which they weren't there all year.
So Devin Booker was there most of the year. Dylan Brooks was suspended for a while and injured for a while. But Dylan Brooks is not a number 2 scorer. He is your number 5 scorer, grit and grind guy. You put him on the other team's star player, defend them. Phoenix also had Kevin Durant last year. They lost him over the offseason. Phoenix was not supposed to make the playoffs, or even the play-ins. They were supposed to be the bottom of the play-ins, but the fact that they were competing with Minnesota for that 6th seed, just at all, is a testament to how well Dylan Brooks especially has been playing.
Yeah.
And a bunch of their sort of role guys. Now, on the other side, some really disappointing teams. Or maybe not really, but disappointing. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, they ended 4th in the East with a slightly worse record than they had last year. Cleveland was supposed to be top 2. They had a good, solid start to the year, and then just fell. Now, they didn't quite fall off as much as something like, say, the Detroit Red Wings. But regardless, Cleveland was supposed to be a comfortable number 2, or even a number 1, along with sort of like Boston. So them dropping 4th, not good. The Milwaukee Bucks, what are you guys doing? You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have... He's arguably one of the best power forwards in NBA history. He just hasn't played, his full career yet, so we can't determine that. But you are somehow managing to waste that.
Yeah.
And your team is just completely out of the playoffs. Doc Rivers, as a coach, has lost everybody's respect. He went from one of those coaches that, you could bring onto a team and he'd bring instant success, to now he's the coach that has to carry around his sort of resume and records around with him just to try and get respect from players.
Yeah.
Because his image is just so tarnished right now. So I don't know what's going on in Milwaukee, and I don't know if they're going to recover anytime soon. Because they didn't trade Antetokounmpo at the deadline, and they haven't shown any plans since then. Orlando's been a bit of a disappointment. They are in the play-ins. They're supposed to be better, though. Paulo Banchero is supposed to be MVP caliber at the very least, or all NBA at the very least. Franz Wagner, I know he was injured for a long time, but he's great. They're a young team. They should be better. They're in the play-ins, though. I don't have confidence for them after that Boston game, though.
Yeah, that's gonna be. They gotta regroup and.
But they got trounced by the Celtics reserves. They let up one of the longest unanswered point streaks in a game against the Raptors like a month ago. Yeah. What was it, 40 or something? 31. So they got to do something. Otherwise, they are going to get bounced out of the play-ins.
It's going to be a busy offseason for them.
The Los Angeles Clippers are overall a disappointment, especially with how awful they started the year. And they are damn lucky that Kawhi Leonard decided that, hey, I'm going to play through my injuries and I'm going to get us into at least a better position.
Yeah, he went back to prime Leonard.
Brook Lopez, he's old, but he's still playing. He's playing all right. He can contribute. Darius Garland, who they got in a trade with Cleveland, he's playing well. Benedict Mathurin has been playing really well since trade deadline as well. So the Clippers, they're not a bad team, but it's been a disappointing season overall.
Yeah.
The New Orleans Pelicans have been awful for years. And they have Zion Williamson, who was supposed to be the next LeBron, essentially, with the physical tools that he has. And he's not playing bad, but I don't know what this team is doing. They're wasting his time.
They're not getting help, is what they're doing.
They don't have a team. They don't have assets. They're unwilling to move on from Zion. They either have to build around him and make a contender while he's still young and developing and nearing his prime at this rate, or they need to trade him and get something else and start rebuilding all over again. Memphis. I know they dealt with injury. I know they dealt with the whole John Morant situation, which is still crazy to me. But they were supposed to be better. They didn't play well, and then they just shipped everybody away.
Yeah.
They traded Desmond Bane last year to Orlando, and he's playing fine. He's playing well. But, your other young piece, Jaren Jackson Jr. and some other guys, you just said, nope, we give up. I don't know what Memphis' plan is going forward. I don't think they got enough picks to really give them a good chance in the coming years.
Yeah, they're kind of in the sinking ship right now.
Speaking of sinking ship, or rather sunken ship, the Sacramento Kings. They are old. They don't have picks. They don't have assets. They have nothing. They were one of the worst teams in the league this year. They keep trading away players before they develop properly. I mean, they had Tyrese Halliburton. They had De'Aaron Fox. They just traded away Sabonis. I don't know what's going on. They're a bad team that just looks like they're just going to get worse. A couple extra teams that I want to mention, though. Philadelphia. They had a semi-healthy season from Embiid. And Paul George, outside of the suspension, has played a number of games. Tyrese Maxey has shown a lot of promise, especially the team's number one option. So the fact that Philadelphia is in the play-in is a testament to the fact that they are getting actual minutes out of their bigger investments. So they didn't have a great year, but it was better than last year. And they are on the up and up. Indiana, I do want to mention again, they have had an awful, awful season, but Tyrese Halliburton should be back next year, assuming that his recovery is going all right.
Yeah.
So it's been a bad year. You could call it disappointing, but we also expected that they'd be bad.
Yeah.
Just not this bad. So hopefully they're better next year. The OKC Thunder, technically, a slightly disappointing season. They're first in the West. They won 64 wins. They had 68 wins last year. And at the start of this year, they were looking like they'd have 70 wins. So they're still the best team in the NBA right now, but based on what they had, 4 or 5 months ago, technically slightly disappointing, funny enough. They're great. They should have been better. which is an insane thing to try and say. The last team I just want to mention is Minnesota. They end this year with the exact same record that they had last year, which is not bad. They're still a playoff team, but you'd think with Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, they'd be a little better. Just a little bit better.
It's okay. You won't be saying the same thing when they win.
Yeah. I know you're a big Minnesota fan, and I hope they do well, Miggy.
It's going to be Minnesota and Toronto.
Oh, the household is going to be on fire. Oh, my
Jay's going to be walking on eggshells.
No, I'll just leave.
So the playoff picture right now, I say right now because the play-ins still need to happen. So Detroit in first, Boston in second, New York in third for the East, and Cleveland in fourth. Toronto is in fifth, so it'll be a Cleveland-Toronto first-round matchup. It'll be an Atlanta's in sixth, so it'll be Atlanta and New York. Their playing teams are Philadelphia, Orlando, Charlotte, Miami. Miami versus Charlotte, which will be the first of the Eastern Conference playing games. That happened tonight. The second of the Eastern Conference playing games will be Orlando versus Philadelphia. That'll happen tomorrow. In the West, OKC in 1, San Antonio in 2, Denver in 3, the Lakers in 4. In fifth place is the Houston Rockets, so it'll be a Lakers-Rockets first round. In sixth place is your Minnesota Timberwolves. They will face Denver in the first round, which is a horrifying prospect, but quite frankly, probably the best option out of the top 3.
Yeah.
Phoenix in 7, Portland in 8, the Clippers in 9th, and Golden State in 10th. So your Western Conference playing games are Portland-Phoenix, which happened tonight, and then Golden State versus the Clippers will happen on Wednesday. And then the final playing games will happen this Friday.
Okay.
I want to talk a bit about awards, but I know that you've got a little bit on the end of the NHL season that's...
Yeah. We can do that now if you want.
Well, I want us to talk awards at the same time.
We got 3 confirmed matchups in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We got Montreal, Tampa Bay, Battle of Pennsylvania, so Pittsburgh versus Philly, and then Minnesota and Dallas, like I mentioned before. That's going to be a tightly contested series. I would be disappointed if it's not 6 games. Now, I'm kind of going to do it the opposite way you did it.
Okay,
I'm going to talk about who clinched, and then I'll go with the surprise and all the disappointing. Who clinched? Well, In the Central, it's been kind of already known for years, basically at this rate.
Not much. Years.
Years. Colorado clinches the President's Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas and Minnesota. So they're going in the playoffs. They're 1, 2, 3 in the Central. Now, on the completely opposite side of the spectrum, you got the Pacific. You got Vegas, Edmonton, Anaheim. Vegas is at 93. Edmonton's 91 points. Anaheim's at 90. They're all going. They're 1, 2, 3 in the Pacific. And in the wild card in the West, you got Utah. Sorry. You got Utah, which is the first year that they have their actual name, the Mammoths.
Oh, yeah. They used to just be the Utah Sports Club.
Yeah, hockey club.
Oh, hockey club, yeah.
Utah clinched with 90 points. LA also clinched with 89 points. Now, keep the 90 and the 89 in your heads for a little bit. We go to the eastern side. Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Montreal are all going. 1, 2, 3 in the Atlantic. Buffalo has 108. Tampa has 106. Montreal has 106. Tightly contested top 3. In the Metro, Carolina, Pittsburgh, and Philly. So Carolina clinched the East with 113 points. Pittsburgh with 98. Philly with 98. So Pittsburgh does have home ice because Philly's season is done and Pittsburgh still has 1 game in hand. Boston clinched with 100 points. Ottawa clinched the second wildcard with 97 points. Washington with 95 did not clinch the playoffs. Utah with 90 clinched the playoff. Now to put this in even more perspective here, the last wild card in the Eastern Conference is 11th in the league. The last wild card in the Western Conference is 20th. So that means there is 4 teams that have better records than LA, Anaheim, and Utah that are eliminated.
I think we know which conference is better.
Yeah.
So would that technically make the top of the Western Conference slightly fraudulent?
Yes.
So the Colorado Avalanche get the President's Trophy, and they win it by how many points? Like 3? 3 or 4 points?
4, but they still have 2 games to play.
Regardless, though, the fact that the rest of your conference is that bad, there's a lot of extra points.
The
there
8 teams from the Eastern are in the top 11.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
I can see why
Your Pacific leading Vegas Knights are 13th.
I can see why there's a pretty loud movement of people saying that it should just be the top 18 teams.
Yeah. So as I
It's
mentioned,
lopsided.
Avalanche wins the President Trophy. There's no way mathematically they don't win, which means they get the President's Curse. They're out first round.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Here are my surprise teams for the year. Utah. They just got relocated. Arizona wasn't doing good. And now 2 years later after relocation, they're in the playoffs.
Actually, that's a very good turnaround.
Pittsburgh was not supposed to be this good. They're old. It was going to be Crosby's year. In the beginning of the year, everybody's like, oh, he's getting shipped out of the trade deadline. Show up at the trade deadline. They have a winning record. They keep Crosby, and now they're second in the Metro. Columbus, they weren't supposed to be as good as they played. Holy.
I thought I was sick.
Yeah. They played well. They almost managed to stay in the playoff picture for more than half the season.
I mean, they were, I wouldn't say very competitive, but they were pretty competitive here to end the year.
But again, they're in the Eastern side. If they were in the Western, they'd probably be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Anaheim flew. They were not supposed to take that big of a jump in their rebuild. they probably skipped like 2 years of rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the disappointing teams, the Canucks. They finished in the middle of the pack last year.
In the playoffs last year, too. Pretty sure. Or were they just out?
No, they were just out.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Middle of the pack. They were expected to be middle of the pack again this year, and they were visiting the Titanic at the end of the year. Not even at the end of 2025. The Panthers, after winning back-to-back Stanley Cups, are second to last in the East. The Leafs, after finishing fourth last year, are again second to third, the bottom of the East. So, those are teams that had huge expectations. Well, maybe not the Canucks. They were expecting to do around the same, but had massive downfalls. And again, the Winnipeg Jets. They finished president last year, and now they're missing the playoffs. Although they did almost make kind of a Cinderella story.
But that shouldn't be what they're at.
Yeah, exactly. They were 27th at a point this year.
It's insane.
So, yeah. Now we're just waiting for matchups and all that stuff. Quake is retiring. The last of the good goalies from when we started watching. He played his last game against Florida. They lost 3-2. He is still, and will probably remain for a while, the winningest U.S.-born goalie. Barry Trotz from Nashville is retiring after this season. He's the GM. So Nashville will be looking for a new GM. Kopitar is retiring after this year. So he kind of gets a playoff farewell tour. So it kind of be iconic or ironic, you can say, if the Kings win it after Kopitar announces his retirement.
They've got a mountain to climb, that's for sure.
The big one. Awards?
I think we should go into awards. So, the NBA season done. I don't remember if awards are handed out middle of the playoffs or end of the playoffs. I think it's middle of the playoffs.
I don't know. NHL is during the summer.
Yeah, it might even be the same. So, the three ones I really want to talk about. MVP, Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, about a month and a half ago, I thought was close. I thought you had, Victor Wembanyama, you had Scotty Barnes, and you had Chet Holmgren. Because the Defensive Player of the Year award is very big man heavy.
Yeah.
Because they are often expected to be the ones literally anchoring defenses. I don't think the race is close anymore.
No, Wemby took it to a whole new level.
Especially when he came back from injury and he was putting up 3 or 4 blocks a game on 18 minutes a game. I think he kicked the door down, chucked the others out, and said, "This trophy is mine, and I will not let you have it." And
is that your French accent?
Yeah, it's what I could come up with right now. hey, do you want to help me out here, Miggy? Yeah, exactly. So I think as much as I wanted DPOY to be close or interesting, I think it's a done deal. Rookie of the Year, however, is a 2-man race. Or 2-boy race. No, they're adults. 2-man race. Cooper Flagg is probably the better player. I say probably because it's hard to tell how good somebody is when they're leading a terrible team.
Fair.
The Mavericks are crap. They will continue to likely be crap ever since they got rid of Doncic. Still baffles me. Mind you, they only got Cooper Flagg because they got rid of Doncic and made those picks. Cooper Flagg has been putting up great numbers for a rookie. Some of the best numbers from a rookie we've seen in years. It's just his team sucks. It's garbage. So not even in the playing picture. So it's really hard to really quantify how good those stats are, how meaningful those stats are, and how inflated they are. Or if they are inflated or not, which they probably are. So it's tough. And then you look at the other potential Rookie of the Year candidate, Continental. Leads the league in threes, set the three-point record for his team, and his team's in the play-ins, and they're on the up and up. And he is a big reason as to why. And he's also been putting up really good individual numbers. So it's kind of this almost beliefs battle. It's almost less about the players and more about what people think actually brings value.
Yeah.
Right? Like, does the player who's putting up decent numbers on a decent team with actual contention more important? Or like, is he better? Or is the guy who's putting up the best numbers better and just, he's being held back by a bad team? So like it's almost a coin flip at this point.
Yeah.
But it's between those two. Now the big one. MVP.
Jokic.
I would say it's Jokic.
It has to be.
The MVP race is between SGA, Jokic, and Wemby.
Isn't Jokic averaging a triple-double?
He's averaging a triple-double. I think it should be Jokic. I don't think that team is nearly as good as they are without him. I still think that OKC is a great team without SGA. SGA is probably going to win it just because that seems to be how voters are. You're the leader and the high scorer on the number one team, which is, that is still something, right? Absolutely. But I feel like you take SGA away from that team, they're still top two. I feel like you take Jokic away from that Denver team, they collapse. Victor Wembanyama also has a strong case, though. He is a big reason why this Spurs team is even any good. He's likely going to get Defensive Player of the Year. He's been putting up numbers. He is the future of this league. I don't know if he's quite the now of this league, although he's pretty damn close. So it's between those three. It's probably going to be SGA. I would vote for Jokic.
I would too.
And
if you're averaging a triple-double.
And it's almost one of those things where it's like Wembanyama should definitely be in the conversation, but I think it's kind of a two-man race, right? Like Jaylen Brown is technically in the conversation, but that's quite a drop-off. Cade Cunningham would be in the conversation, but he doesn't qualify for awards this year because of the 65-game rule that the NBA has. So for those listening, the NBA has a rule where for a player to be eligible for any end-of-season awards, they have to play in a minimum of 65 games and average 20 minutes per game. So this has led to a really weird situation where Luka Doncic has played and will only play 64 games in the regular season. So he will actually be ineligible for end-of-season awards. Victor Wembanyama will have played 65 games by the end of the year. He's eligible for awards. The crazy thing is that Doncic, I think, has about 500 to 600 more minutes played than Wembanyama does. So Doncic has played more time, but because he's missing that one game played, he's ineligible.
Mm-hmm.
And to really send the message home, Bruce Brown, for I think the Denver Nuggets, he has played in all 82 games,
But he doesn't qualify.
but he doesn't qualify because he doesn't meet the 20 minutes a game average. Mind you, he probably wasn't going to win any awards, but the point is this ruling has so many loopholes to it, and loopholes is probably the wrong word to use, but it has so many of these completely invisible restrictions that are basically just like decentivizes players to actually go for these awards or to like really try for it. Because if you barely don't qualify, nothing matters in terms of going to this award. And the reason they put this rule in was to try and get star players to stop resting, which is, as an idea and as an endeavor, I understand. but they have to fix this. Like, you can't have a guy like Luka Doncic just not be considered for MVP because he's one game short of this arbitrary
65
games rule. And
wasn't he injured?
yeah, he's injured. That's the other thing. I understand if this was a rule of like you can't intentionally
Miss more than 60.
miss more than 65 games. That's fine, right? Like if Kawhi Leonard, like I don't like picking on him, but like he's the best example, right? Like if you look at Kawhi Leonard and say, oh, he had to rest 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, like 20 games, then yeah, I'd make him ineligible.
Yeah.
But if you look at Luka Doncic, who has, I think it's a hamstring strain and like actual tearing and like actual injury that he might have to get like minor surgery for, I'm not going to disqualify him for that. Right? I'm not going to sit here and
Because
go,
like, if it wasn't for that injury, he'd have that game.
yeah, like I'm not going to sit here and go, no, you have to get on the court and go play so you can get this arbitrary games played thing.
Right.
But right, like if you're a star player and you're just like, yeah, no, like I'm not 100% and slightly sore, so I'm just going to sit out, that I have an issue with. So me and a lot of NBA fans really want Adam Silver and the NBA Commission to clarify, revise, fix this because it's broken and it's obviously broken. That's my spiel about NBA awards. How's the NHL looking for awards?
It's tightly contested on some of these. So one's already decided. The best goal scorer is going to be McKinnon. Caulfield was not able to catch up to him. Caulfield has 51. McKinnon has 52. McKinnon still has 2 games played. The Lady Bing, which is the most best sportsman.
Oh, yeah.
Finalists is Kopitar, Point, and Eichel. The Selke, which is the best defensive forward. You got Jordan Stahl from the Hurricanes. You got Sebastian Aho from the Hurricanes. You got Mitch Marner. And you got Nick Suzuki. At one point, this trophy was reportedly being signed petitions to get changed to Patrice Bergeron trophy because he won it 7 times.
You know what? I get it.
The Norris, the 4 finalists for the Norris is Bouchard from Edmonton, Werenski from Columbus, as usual, Cale Makar from Avalanche, and Lane Hudson from Montreal. The Hart, which is the most important player according to the league for their teams, is between McKinnon, Celebrini, Kucherov, and McDavid. I personally feel, yes, McDavid, McKinnon, and Kucherov have more points. I personally feel Celebrini should win it due to the 30-plus point discrepancy between him and the second most point getter in his team. Art Ross is the most points. Shifley Suzuki at 101. Celebrini at 112, like I was saying. McKinnon at 126. Kucherov at 130. McDavid at 134. So Kucherov still has a game. McDavid still has a game. So we'll see, but I'm pretty sure McDavid's going to win.
I mean, he's got a 4-point cushion with at most 2 games left.
Now the one that I know that you can put your input
on. Oh, I get to put input on it?
The Vezina.
Oh.
Is between, right now, there's 2 favorites. Vasilevsky and Sorokin from the New York Islanders. Vasilevsky has 39 wins. He has a goal against average of 2.31. He has a save percentage of .912, 2 shutouts, high danger save percentage of .844. He leads the league in wins. That is it. Save percentage, he's 2nd. Goal against, he is 5th. Shutouts, he is like bottom of the pack.
Well, I mean, 2 shutouts is nothing.
High danger saves, I think he's like between 10 and 20. Sorokin, 29 wins. So a little bit lower. 2.68 goal against, a little higher. 0.906 save percentage, so around the same boat as Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
7 shootouts. He leads the league by 2. And he leads the league in high danger saves with 0.864.
I mean, you're looking at two very, very similar stat lines here. One is just more wins and probably more games played.
But you got to look at the team around him.
That's the other thing. I was about to mention that is that the Islanders are a surprise a bit. And I mean, if your high danger save percentage has to be that high just to give your team a chance.
Yeah.
The 7 shutouts is also pretty impressive until I start thinking about the fact that if he had 7 games where he let in 0, and his goals against was still, what was it, 2.68. You know, how many games is he letting in, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing. So I think I agree with them being finalists. I think it's close. It's probably going to Vasilevsky just for the wins. And the fact that the rest of the numbers are so close.
I'm hoping it's Sorokin because I really don't like Vasilevsky.
No.
Like, I'm not. He is talented, but he is extremely helped with that Tampa Bay team.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it's that thing of Tampa's a good team and he's the good goalie on the good team.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Sorokin is
the good goalie
on a average team, right? So I think it goes to Vasilevsky, but if I was Sorokin, I wouldn't feel bad.
Yeah.
That's a very good stat line, especially for how high scoring the NHL is nowadays.
Now, talking about hockey, PWHL. PWHL is closing in, before I go into the awards, on 1 million attendance. They're at 976,000 people that have attended the hockey games.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
The PWHL is going to be a very good league.
That 4th place is still up for grabs between the 3 teams I mentioned earlier. For those who maybe missed it, it was Ottawa Charge, Toronto Settlers, and New York Sirens. Panic is 1 goal away from being the first 30-point player in the PWHL.
30 point or 30 goal?
30 point.
30 point? Okay.
With Victoire being the first PWHL team to 20 wins. Now, I don't know how their award system works, but we're talking about goalie. It is a tight goalie battle.
There's some good goalies in this league.
Desbiens, 17 wins, 1.08 goal against, 0.956 save percentage.
Insane numbers.
The Montreal goalie. Boston goalie, Franklin, 17 wins, 1.16 goal against, 0.954 save percentage. It's literally a 1 goal difference.
Ridiculous.
It is tight. It is insane.
It's fun to watch, too.
Oh, it is. Now, we've talked about the sports that we've grew up watching. How about we watch about? How about we talk about a sport we just recently started watching because we want to get more into it, but we've followed them for the last couple of years. The Jays.
We've been going over impressive teams and disappointing teams, and if I had to put the Jays anywhere, they're big disappointments right now.
There's some ups and there's some downs. So
some downs,
some big downs.
There
but look, which one you want first, the ups or the big downs?
Oh man, I mean, if we go with the downs first, we're never going to get to the ups. So you might as well start high, and we'll just
All right.
peter off the edge.
Gosman, phenomenal. 3 games played, ERA of 2.08 with 17 in the third innings pitch, 26 strikeouts with a whip for people who don't know, whip is with hitters in play of 0.63. Cease, 3 games, ERA of 2.45, 14.2 innings pitched, 26 strikeouts with a whip of 1.43. Insane. Sanchez, newcomer. He's 28 years old too, so he's still young. He has 44 at bats. He averages at .273, 2 homers, 9 RBIs, with an on-base percentage of .804. He is doing way better than I thought he was going to do.
Oh, he is such a bright spot for this lineup.
Clement, .311 as of when I looked this up, which was Saturday. 4 RBIs, 1 stolen base, on base percentage of .716. He gets on base. Now, the one that has shocked everybody, Jimenez.
Yeah.
At 50.
Before you get into the numbers, I will say that I was a Jimenez hater.
I remember last year we watched that series and you were like, get him out.
I wanted him gone. I really did.
Well, he must have heard you.
I take all of it back.
In 54 at bat, he's batting .278, 2 homers, 9 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, with an on-base percentage of .772.
And to top it all of that, he's an incredible defensive shortstop.
Yep. Now the downs. And they're
Here
not
we
so,
go.
They're not so little.
No, they're
Little. Has 5 games. Innings pitched 3.2. It's already not a good start. 6 shutouts with a whip of 3.55. Now hold on to your seats, boys. ERA of 24.55.
He's not even at 40.
At one point in the season, he was the reason for 13 of our 17
runs given.
Mad Max. 3 games. He's pitched 10.1 innings, 9 strikeouts. So his strikeouts are not bad.
I mean, he's almost at 1.
ERA of 9.58.
Yeah, it's not good.
For a starter?
No.
Lucas.
Oh, man.
At 26 at bat, he's .077. He has 2 RBIs, which were both sacrifice flies. And his on-base percentage is .215.
On-base below 600. Wow.
Below 300.
Below 300
If you want to feel good about yourself and say above 200, sure.
I mean, at this point, we're just adding on crap here.
Now, the only team that seems to be very dominant this year so far is LA, the Dodgers. No surprise. They are 12-4. Everybody else is 10-7 and below, so that's pretty tightly contested.
Oh, yeah. No,
last year we had undefeated teams till 15, even 20 of the games. So
no, the rest of the league is very competitive this year.
Here are the 2 hot starts that I'm kind of... Well, one, I'm greatly shocked. The other, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I've been following Mike Trout for a while. He's a very injury-prone player. Last year, he struggled. He had some hot areas and some rough areas. This year, he started. He has 16 runs. That means he's been batting in 16 times. He has 4 homers, 12 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. He's averaging a 2.224, and he has reached base on balls 15 times.
Now that's plate discipline, if you ask me.
Now another one that I am completely shocked is Andy Page.
Oh, like Pies?
Yes.
Okay.
And by the way, he's the bottom of their batting order.
Yeah, he's the bottom of the Dodgers batting order.
You better be ready
He
for
batted
this.
horribly over the postseason.
He's batting at a .416. He has 2 stolen bases. He's been ran in 9 times. He has 5 homers and 20 RBIs.
Somebody let a fire.
He bats between 7th and 9th.
The bottom of your order is 50-50 on if he gets a hit?
Almost. Yup.
It's fucked, boys.
That's... Okay, no. You know what? I was really hopeful that the Jays would compete for World Series this year, but with how bad they are and with how scary the Dodgers have gotten, because they weren't scary enough last year,
Fucking
just give them the trophy. We'll give the rest of the league, what is it, 6-7 months to prepare for next year.
Now let's talk about another down with the Jays. 12 players on the IL, costing $104 million.
Yeah.
There's 2 teams that cost less in the whole.
We're paying more for injured players.
I'm just gonna rapid fire them. I don't want to talk about it.
Well,
or else I'm gonna cry.
Well, I mean, you and I went over the list a couple days ago, and I mean, it took us so long because we kept figuring, it's the end of the list, and then there'd be more.
George Springer was put on the 10-day IL on April 12th for a fractured toe. Is expected to be back late April. Alejandro Gork, 10-day IL on the April 4th, underwent surgery. On April 7th, hopefully back end of May. Heineman is day-to-day with back spasms. Barger was put on the 10-day IL on the 7th. He should be back in late April, but there is good news with Barger. He's no longer in a boot.
Yes. Yeah. He doesn't need that much support for a sprained ankle anymore.
Now, one that we are highly anticipating is Bieber. He should be back late May. Which, how our starting pitchers are dropping like flies now.
It can't come any sooner.
And again, Savage, expected back late April, maybe even next week.
If he could be back next week and just give our pitchers a bit of relief.
Or just a smack on the back.
And again, Barrios might come back early May. So we have pitchers that are coming back.
They just can't come back fast enough.
Yeah.
It's the nearest one is like a week to 2 weeks away.
Now, one that's not coming back unless we make the potential playoffs at this rate is Ponce. He underwent surgery. He's probably going to miss the season.
I mean, was it strained ACL?
Garcia returned mid to late April, so he should be close to a return. Santander, he's out for 5 to 6 months. Hopeful for June, though. He had a surgery to repair his labral tear.
I mean, he was out lots of last year too.
Yeah.
So
Francis will miss the year. He had to have surgery. Tedman is week to week with elbow soreness. So there's just a lot of bad happening with the Jays right now, and we need Bieber, Savage, and Barrios to just come back as fast as possible, but as healthy as possible as well.
I mean, we need them back. We need Kirk back.
Yeah.
Well, Kirk's great, but the catcher we have in right now, Valenzuela, he's all right.
Yeah. And Tedman's all right too when he's there.
And we need Springer back and actually doing well. Because I think he went in, like, when he was put on the IL, he was batting something like 150.
Yeah. Which is not good numbers for your leadoff.
No.
So maybe when he comes back, he gets his jump in his step again.
Speaking of leadoff, a conversation I had with some people a few days ago was centered around the Blue Jays batting rotation. And we were kind of discussing sort of, why do the Jays have so many poor percentage hitters at the top of the order. The Springer was 150.
Yeah.
Lucas, who is often the guy that kind of slot into that 2 spot,
Yeah.
was batting under 100.
Yeah.
Vladdy's batting good.
Vladdy's
Vladdy's flat, right? But the guys who are batting well, Clement over 300, Jimenez, who's hovering around 250. Schneider is even, I think, is above 200. Sanchez is 270. I really don't understand why we don't have some of those guys leading off.
I'm going to tell you what my grandfather told me because I asked him that same question way back when I was still in Quebec.
Yeah.
And he put it this way. Would you rather have your guys who are going to hit the ball in play first? Or would you rather the guy who you don't know, but if they do get on base, it gives the opportunity for the guy who you do know that will hit the ball in play to potentially run him in?
Here's my thing. I get that. But when you have so many batters, 4 or 5, that are batting well, and you're shoving them to the end of the rotation, I don't get it. I'd rather you put Clement at leadoff, still have a buffer at 2, and then Vladdy at 3, and maybe you put Springer at 4 or 5, because, right? That, Vladdy is such a good batter to be building your rotation of because he's got power and because he is contact as well, right? So I don't understand, putting Springer at 1 and you're hoping for what? The occasional home run and the occasional double that he just isn't giving to you at all.
Yeah.
It's practically an automatic out. Your number 2 spot is never guaranteed and is usually a poor batter who is, if it's Lucas, he's only RBIs where sack flies anyways. So you need somebody on base, and Springer's not going to get on base. And then you have Vladdy, which more often than not, you just leave him with 2 outs, no man on. So I don't quite know what the Jays organization is thinking in terms of their batting rotation, especially Don Snyder. He's a great manager, but if I didn't know any better, and I don't know a whole lot about baseball. I'm still figuring it out, but I would really hope that they put one of their contact batters in that leadoff, or at least in the second spot, just to give your best player, Vladdy, some sort of threat or extra threat. I suppose he's a threat all himself.
Yeah.
But
we still got time, and there's a lot of games before.
That's the thing.
Playoffs.
It's a long season.
And talking about playoffs, next week we'll be chatting about the playoffs, but it'll be that time.
Oh yeah. All the NHL and NBA playoffs, I think both start next weekend. Same day.
On the Saturday.
So we'll get a clearer picture as the NBA is going to get a clearer picture of the play-ins.
Yeah.
NFL, not much happened.
No. Schedules are out mid-May.
But CFL, Canadian Football League, starting pretty soon. And with the regular season starting soon, predictions of various.
How about we let Jay open that one up?
Eskimos for 7-Eleven.
Okay. So, not expecting them to do too well, huh?
Nah.
Well, Miggy and I, we have a bit more for predictions than just a single team. Or at least I do. I don't know what you wrote down in your notepad.
I got it.
So do I start? Do you want to start? You want me to start? Okay. So, we care more about the Western Conference in the CFL. So, I will start with the East.
Okay.
So, the conference is only 4 teams. I'm going to be biased and based on last season's standings where I think teams will end up.
Yeah.
So, in the East, I have Montreal finishing first, followed by Hamilton, Ottawa, and then Toronto last in the Eastern Conference.
I would switch Ottawa and Hamilton.
You will have your chance.
Sorry.
Hey. No, I want to hear what you predict so I can have a rebuttal. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Look, I think Montreal wins these.
Get on with it.
That's my big thing. Okay, fine. You want to hear my West? You want to hear my Western Conference? Saskatchewan and no. I'm kidding.
Even had Jay raise his
Jay perked up so fast. I have the BC Lions coming in first, Saskatchewan coming in second. They were one game apart at the end of the regular season last year. So when that goes, I'll let my bias take over. Because I do think the BC Lions are still good. I have Winnipeg in third, Calgary in fourth, Edmonton ending up in fifth in the West.
All right.
Let's hear it.
In the West, I have the Rough Riders first because they're still the favorites to win it again.
Of course.
BC second.
Yep.
Calgary third.
Okay.
Edmonton fourth.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And Winnipeg fifth.
You have Winnipeg. Okay.
In the East, like I said earlier, I have Montreal first. Ottawa, Hamilton, Toronto.
Okay. I mean, it's only 9 teams, so there's only so many ways you can go about it. But I think you and I are kind of on the same page, generally.
Toronto's gonna suck.
Montreal's gonna win the East. Hamilton, Ottawa,
Duke it out.
You can kind of coin flip it.
Yeah.
West is going to be run by BC and Saskatchewan.
100%. I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Like if either of them dropped to third, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton are kind of
Bombers are gonna bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I almost want to say that they could surprise us, but I can't even expect that.
Hey, I put Edmonton at fourth.
Yeah, and I put them at fifth.
I counted for the surprise.
Oh man! I mean, last year was what? Saskatchewan Montreal final. Saskatchewan beat BC in the conference final.
Yeah, beat both of your teams.
Yeah, they beat both of my both the teams I cheer for. I cheer for BC and Montreal. So that was painful. That was painful. You know,
it was awesome.
Living in the province that just beat your two teams and having to sit there and watch the Grey Cup going, I really hope none of them call me. Oh, look, Miggy's calling me. Hang up.
It didn't even take 20 seconds.
I ain't dealing with that today. Not a chance.
He sends me a text. He's like, I'm not dealing with you.
I was not having it. But I think the BC will at least compete again. I mean, I don't think that is...
I agree.
I don't think that's too far off the beaten path.
Now, before we close it down, we got some announcements.
So, for those who tuned in last week, we are moving to 2 weekly episodes. 2 regularly scheduled weekly episodes. So, we will conclude the first of this week's 2, which we have collectively deemed the North American sports.
Yep.
The North American sports leagues of the podcast. So, we will send you guys off, and we hope you come back and enjoy our international episode for, what is this, week 15?
Week 15.
Adios.